Recorded live with little or no editing. It's Defense Up. I'm Red7. How you doing? I inserted a alliance channel in Discord for those of you who are looking to recruit members for your alliance or post that you want to get into an alliance. It's just one channel. I'm not dividing it up into millions or anything fancy like that because I'm kind of lazy, but you can check it out. There's links in the description. If you happen to see one of these people's defenses and you're like, wow, they're doing great, I want them in my alliance, you can go in that channel and at them because they're hanging out in my Discord like you should be too. Anyway, check it out. But today we're going over Smithdagemini's defense. He's got some interesting stuff in here. Let's see how well he does, shall we? Okay, team number 1, we grade on 5 different criteria. It's who you're using, their placement, their power levels, their ISOs, and what kind of mood I'm in. We've got a Doom team. It's Doom basically replacing Omega Red. Not a whole lot of synergy there. The Omega Red team works way better with Omega Red. The Weapon X team, that is. But, you know, it's a thing to do. They're still pretty powerful tunes. They're new. You know, anytime you get new tunes, it's okay to throw them on defense. And honestly, this is going to be something that people aren't familiar with, right? Because the Weapon X team is new and you're adding Doom into it. And so it creates an environment of instability and unsurety, if that's a word. So, okay, so you know, points for something new. I don't think there's going to be a ton of value or synergy by putting Doom in here. Let's see. We've got Doom as a striker. That's good. Raider on Sabretooth. That's correct. Skirmisher on Lady Deathstrike. I like her as a striker. I like her going into vulnerables with that special, and then she will come back. She'll apply a bleed on her special, rewind turn meter, come back into that vulnerable with her basic, which will then apply defense down because there will be bleeds on the target. I think striker is definitely the way to go with her. Skirmisher is a fine second pick. Skirmisher is a very powerful ISO. So probably not worth it to change it at this time. But if you want to get serious about this team and use them on offense, where you can pick your targets and stuff and get that rewind placed just right, I think striker is the way to go. You got striker on Wolverine. I like that. I think he should be a striker. He's got crit built into his kit, and so he has that synergy with the Raider ISO, but having speed up on his counter assist, making him go faster, getting him to that ult a little bit faster, that's good. And then Skirmisher on your taunting tank Silver Samurai. Good. That's a good choice. He counterattacks all the time, placing more vulnerables. So you're going to have tons of vulnerables with this setup. When Omega Red comes in, with this setup, you'd want to definitely make him a striker. Later on, you may choose to make him a skirmisher to smash those, to get that focus boost and land his ability block if you're having trouble with that hero for hire team. But as for this build with Doom on it, it's fine. You're not doing anything wrong. Your power levels are wonky, of course, because you got these 2 built up and these 3 are just kind of sitting low. But I think this is kind of in a holding pattern for you until you get Omega Red built up. And I think you're doing okay here. I think you could do some tweaks to make it better, but it's a pretty good team. I'm going to give you a B+ for it. Okay, Skilitary on defense. I think this is a fine defense team. They are a good offensive team and they have a high value, so probably better for offense. But if you're getting your 10 wins in war, then this is fine. This is fine. Striker, Raider, and Healer. Yeah, okay. I think the Mercenary should be a Skirmisher. But who cares? He's just loading in, right? He's just loading in for the war bonus. That's all you need him to do. But having him as a skirmisher might be better. I think what you're doing is having these guys raiders, since they're on defense. There's more opportunities for a variety of vulnerables to be out there. That way, when Punisher pops off, there's a better chance that he actually hits a vulnerable. When you're piloting the team, you can place that vulnerable with skirmishers. And so that's definitely the way to go on offense. But on defense, maybe that does have some value. So I won't even dock you for that. I think this is great. I think your power levels are a little low up here. Those 2 need to be touched up. But honestly, this is a pretty good build. I'm actually going to go... I'm going to go B+ on this. I'm not sure about that Raider ISO. And you definitely do need to raise the power level. I'll go B+ on this again. You're doing pretty good here. Team number 3, Heroes for Hire. Move this team to the back of your defense. This is what everybody's hunting for, to see who's going to be applied where. Excuse me. You know, who's going to apply their offense team to this defensive team. So hide it in the back of your roster so they have to work for it. Don't pull up your skirts early like this. Okay, you got Raider, Skirmisher. That's interesting. Healer and Raider. wonky placement. You got to move Luke Cage to the outside. When the hero for hire, or not hero for, when the Weapon X team comes into this, it is always so frustrating. Let's get some music playing. It is always so frustrating when he is off to the side and he does that taunt, and you go into it with Lady Deathstrike trying to rewind turn meter on 3 characters, but you can only do 2 instead because he's off to the side. You're making it easy for him by having him in the middle. Don't do that. Move him off to the side. Make him a fortifier. He's so slow, he's not going to be applying that vulnerable very often. It's a powerful ISO, and I love the skirmisher ISO, but I think the barrier mechanic on somebody who's dying and reviving a lot is going to be better. And then over here on Iron Fist, you have him as a healer. Now, he does have healing built into his kit, but most often with these teams, they're being beat by Infinity Watch or Weapon X. Now, there's some new hybrids that can come into them too, I think, with the Eternals and some crazy stuff, but nobody's really using those because it's so character intensive. But I think making him a skirmisher is a better bet, and here's why. Most of the time, he's either going to die and revive, and those rejuves aren't going to happen, and it's only going to give that healing boost on his active healing abilities, which don't often happen that much. Or he's going to have heal block, and it's not going to make a difference. So I think having the vulnerable on the field, going for the offensive potential of this team is better. Yes, I mean, it's a defense team, but having them do more damage with the vulnerables on the field and the double counterattacks and stuff. Also, you have her as a raider. I don't like that. I think she needs to be a striker for the upward damage potential. There's a lot of talk now about doing math and raider being better than striker because of crits and total damage output and everything. But, you know, you've got a lot of vulnerables on the field and no strikers on this team. So figure out who's going to be I mean, hell, make Iron Fist a striker at least, you know, because you got so many vulnerables coming out on the field. Okay, I think you're doing a lot of weird things with this team. I know that the placement is wrong, so we got to change that placement, at least by putting Luke Cage to the outside. I think you should change Iron Fist to a skirmisher, and I think you should change Colleen Wing to a striker, though that debate is kind of evolving at this time. I'm going to give you a C+ for this team. I think there's a lot you could be doing better. Team number 4 is a Zemo Red Skull Hydra defense. I don't like Crossbones in here. It looks like you got caught up in building him up for some reason. Maybe you're an older player. Maybe you just got excited for that Zemo rework that happened, or the Hydra rework that happened, and you wanted to try it out. I'm sorry. I mean, obviously, we all got to build Winter Soldier, but I don't think these tunes should be in here. I think you're better off with minions. I think giving the damage reduction to Red Skull is way more valuable than what these tunes offer. So, you know, get in Hydra Sniper, Armored Guard, Grenadier, any of them. They all have reasons to be in here, and they can all play differently. So I think it's better to put those in, even if they're coming in at like 40K instead of 80K. At half the power, there's still a better choice than the guys you're using here. Zemo's awesome on this team. He makes it a lot tougher to come in with some of those traditional Hydra counters. But this is kind of your Hydra offense being used on defense. Like, this would pilot somewhat well. I'd rather on offense, I'd like to see, you know, Hela in here or something on an offensive build. It's kind of weird what you got going on here. I say throw in the minions at the very least, throw in the minions. Don't use Hela on defense because that's a liability. But throw in the minions here. Or if you wanted to do something crazy, you know, you could throw in the Eternals or something like that. I don't know. That'd probably just be a waste of Zemo though. Without a speed member increasing that, you know, that's a whole nother conversation. Okay, let's replace these two. Let's make the whole team war ready. Fortifier on Red Skull is fine. Skirmisher works. Raider works. It all works on him. I kind of do like Fortifier though. It makes him that much tougher. He's at a lower power level than your Zemo. Zemo as a Raider is interesting. I think he should be a skirmisher for most builds. Raider does work though because he's doing AoEs a lot, so there's some value there. Skirmisher over here, that's okay. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is change who you're using. Change who you're using. I think this is such a waste right here. That's just a C for that. Team number 5, Wave 1 Avengers with Captain Marvel in place of Black Widow. You're running Skillitary on defense. You might put Black Widow in on this team. I think it's going to be more. She's going to be more valuable on this team as a defense than that team as a defense. But if you're running that team as an offense, that's where she belongs. Because you've got other options for that Skillitary. You could put Killmonger in there. He's got some synergy with that defense. So I think this should be Black Widow. If you're going to run both teams on defense, I think Black Widow should be over here. Let's see. Otherwise, this is pretty good. I mean, if you were running Skillitary on offense, then this is fine. She's built up enough that she can hang with the team, even though she's power crept. I think you should put some more power in Hulk. He's kind of a linchpin of this team. If he's big enough that he can resist things, it makes it a little more tricky. A lot of people come into this with stuns and blinds and stuff, and if he can resist some of that stuff, you're doing a lot better. Your placement is wonky. Let's go Hulk. No, let's go Captain America, then Hulk. And then we'll probably go Thor, Captain Marvel, and then Hawkeye. So the placement is way off on that. You want to have all your tanks on one side. If you're running Black Widow, you're going to have her divide the team in half. And then you'll put everybody else there, but you don't have Black Widow in here. Fortifier on Hulk. I mean, he is kind of squishy relative to the other members, so there's a reason to run him as a Fortifier for right now. Don't invest any more in Fortifier, though. You will be changing him to a healer. It works a little bit better. Or not. I mean, you're already level 3. Maybe you just want to take him to 4, just leave him as a healer and not invest in him or whatever. Maybe that's the way to go. Maybe just make him war ready. Skirmisher on Hawkeye is fine. You can also run him as a striker, but on this build, definitely keep him as a skirmisher. And then I like Thor as a raider because of his AoE attacks. The damage output on striker is fine, but I definitely think raider is the way to be going with Thor. Captain Marvel as a striker is correct. So we got some ISO changes. We got some placement changes. We got a lot of things going on here that can be fixed up. It's a good team. It's old, but it's a decent team. It's worth making those touch-ups. It's worth making those changes. It's worth making them war ready, getting that little bit of damage, the little increase in those stats. So I think you should fix this up. I think you're doing, honestly, I think you're kind of doing a lot of things wrong here. For me, this is a C-. Okay, Fantastic Four with She-Hulk. She-Hulk as a raider, that's not one I normally see. I think that's probably one of the worst ISOs for her, although she doesn't have much synergy with anything, so it's really hard to have like a favorite. I think I run her as a skirmisher just for the automatic vulnerable that's placed. I don't think she's doing a lot of AoE attacks. She's doing a few counter attacks when they stack negative effects on this team. So yeah, I definitely think she should be something else, but since her synergy with any of those ISOs is minuscule, it's really not worth changing. So probably leave it, but you should have done something else in the first place. Johnny is a fortifier. You got him as a fortifier because he's kind of squishy. You need to make him a striker. Skirmisher on Mr. Fantastic is correct. Invisible Woman should be a skirmisher also, and then striker on Thing is the one that you got right. So yeah, you got 3 ISOs that need to be changed. The idea is that 2 of them are skirmishers, 2 of them are strikers, and then you have She-Hulk, and they call a lot of assists and get a lot of counters out of this team. If you're worried about Johnny getting blown up, put some gear and points into him. It's not a terrible team. It does scale well. People at the high end of gameplay use this team on defense. It's more of a filler team for them, but it does scale well, and it does okay. Let's see, placement change also. You want She-Hulk in the middle. That way when they come in and there's like splash damage with negative effects, it goes on other members and She-Hulk gets those charges faster. She's one of those few tanks that you want on the inside rather than the outside. So let's go with your squishiest members to the outside. That would be Johnny and Mr. Fantastic to the outside with oh my God, the Christmas music just started up in my ear and it's distracting me. Let's just skip this for right now. So then you're gonna go Invisible Woman and Thing on the wing, and then She-Hulk right in the center is probably the way you're gonna go, and that's gonna be your best options there. Okay, for this, Again, could use some tweaks, not so bad. Power levels, I mean, your power levels are wonky because you invested in Invisible Woman for other reasons, and that's okay. Like, you didn't over-invest in Invisible Woman, you did what you were doing at the time, and that's where you landed. It's a question of, do you want to bring the rest of the team up to match? Honestly, it makes a deceiving power level, so people might overshoot this team, not realizing how easy it is to beat them, especially with your placement in some of these ISOs that you're using. And so you could draw in some bigger numbers, just leaving it as it is. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna say C+ for this team. We're getting a little better on that one. Okay, Brotherhood 2.0. Ooh, let's see. We got some interesting placement. I think, no, actually, that's all right. That's all right. I think you're thinking about who is the squishiest member, who gets the deflects, who can take the hits, and you're doing good. You're doing good with that. Okay, we want Raider on Juggernaut for sure. Raider on Magneto is fine. There's a lot of choices for him. I think Raider's a good one. You want Skirmisher on Blob, 100%. Skirmisher for Blob. He retaliates when attacked. He gets attacked a lot. He's going to be placing lots of vulnerables that way. He's actually pretty slow, so he's not doing many attacks. The Striker isn't going to be raising. I mean, his damage potential isn't that great to begin with, so you're not multiplying much. Skirmisher 100% on him. Get that changed. It is definitely worth it. Over here, you've got Raider on Toad. That's the secondary pick. I like Skirmisher level 5. If you don't want to go level 5, Raider's a great pick to add some vulnerables and stuff. But that focused boost with Skirmisher level 5, I think it's a must for clearing those positive effects. And then over here, you've got Striker on Fireboy. Yeah, I think Raider's the way to go with him. All that splash damage, you know, he's hitting 5, you know, they're clumped together, so he's usually hitting 5 people every time, which gives you lots of opportunities to crit. I think Raider's the way to go there. Striker's probably a secondary pick. Coming back, adding more bleeds on a counter assist isn't terrible, but I do like Raider. Raider's been growing on me. This whole week I've been having conversations about Raider and thinking that it might be a more valuable idea than we had. And isn't that great? Those conversations that we can have in MSF, the theory crafting ideas, when ideas and values kind of change and nothing's actually happened, it's just more things are being brought to light. It's a fantastic thing. So you're doing better, but I do think this bottom, I think there's alternative choices for ISOs. The big one is change him to a skirmisher. You're gonna get a lot more value out of that. For me, this is a B-. I think it's a better team and I like your placement, but those ISOs do need a touch up. Team number 8 is Ock Sinister Six. This is an automatic F. If you know me, I do not like putting Ock on the Sinister Six team on defense because he is easier to kill on this team than he is on a hybrid. Like, I look for these teams because the members are so squishy. And look right here, point in case, you've got Mysterio as your squishiest member. I would go into him, kill him, then kill his mirror clones, get that speed up with my symbiotes and roll over this team. Of course, my symbiotes are way bigger than this, but somebody else could punch up with the symbiotes and destroy this team. And you have this huge Ock, you know? With all this turn meter that you could get with like an Axeman or even X Factor, you know, this team gets rolled and he can be used to such great effect on hybrids or on offense. I think that you should take this team off of defense and use them on offense. As a piloted team, they work really well, that you still get lots of value. You didn't waste your investment in here. It is a great team. It's just that it can be beaten so easily on defense that it is a liability and it's a total waste. So I automatically give Ock Sinister Six teams Fs on defense. A lot of people are mad at me for that decision. And you know what? Keep attacking my alliance and I'll keep beating you. So let's see what we can do with this team. If you want to run this team, let's see if we can make it as good as we can. Fortifier on Rhino is completely unnecessary. He's almost always the last one to die. You're going to be summoning Shocker with this team. You want your chargeables adjacent to Ock. You're going to want to put some power in Mysterio. He's not a terrible character, but you want to switch him to a striker and probably make Rhino a raider. The others are fine. Might as well take Ock up to healer ISO level 3, you know, 2.3. He's worth it. I don't know. He might be getting close where he might not be an option for certain things. Maybe just leave him. Whatever. That's an expensive pick, but you do have a hefty investment in him with that power level and stuff that's going on. So You got 6 red stars on this guy over here. And remember, red stars don't make a bad toon good, they make a bad toon bigger. But he's pretty big, you know? So I would put him adjacent to Doc Ock for sure. Put Mysterio out on the other end. You might consider putting Rhino adjacent to Doc Ock. Hopefully he'll cleanse Doc Ock if he gets ability blocked by those symbiotes. You don't know. So yeah, maybe. I don't know. I like it. There's 2 schools of thought really, is putting your chargeables adjacent to Doc Ock or putting Rhino adjacent to Doc Ock in place of one of them. It can go either way. But honestly, take this team off of defense, use them on offense. All right, team number 9. This is the Mercs with Shuri. This is a big Merc team with Shuri. You might consider putting in Ultimus at this point because Skilitary is going to come in and mess them up. and the Skilitary has a lot more trouble when you put Ultimus in here. But I mean, I can't do it. I'm not going to build Ultimus. You know, I'd rather run a 650 Merc team with Shuri and let them use their Skilitary rather than say that I put that, you know, 13 million gold into my Ultimus. Like, forget that. I'm not going to do it. But if you're serious about your Merc team, that's probably the way to go, is get Ultimus in here in place of Shuri. You have synergy with Shuri and Killmonger, that's great. You have Killmonger as a striker, which is strange because you have messed up ISOs on everybody else. You want Taskmaster as a skirmisher, all of your Mercs as strikers. There is a case to be made to be making these minions something else, right? You're getting less than every other attack out of Riot Guard, so the striker is a bit of a waste. That's admitted. So, but Fortifier is pretty stupid on him. He's so tanky, he almost never dies. Skirmisher's not a terrible pick. It's not. Raider's a terrible pick for him. So I would say as a secondary pick, Skirmisher's the way to go. It just sucks that there's not a lot of synergy with any of them. Healer is another thing that you could do, but again, he's slow. He's not popping off that much. For Merc Lieutenant, a secondary pick is Healer. If not Striker, then go Healer. But when you're running Shuri, this team's getting enough healing that you don't need him as a healer. So I do like him as a Striker. He is attacking every other turn, which calls in the assist from Taskmaster, and then you get the double tap from him. So it's a thing to do. And then, yeah, like I said, Killmonger has that native synergy with the Raider ISO, but on this team, he definitely should be a striker. He is attacking every single time and getting that assist from Taskmaster. You are getting a lot of value out of that. Shuri, of course, is a healer. She doesn't get the assist from Taskmaster. Another thing you can do, you know, Bullseye is actually pretty good on this team. Believe it or not, he's fast, and he calls that assist from Taskmaster. And so he is a terrible toon to invest in for any reason at all, other than putting him on this team and getting some quick attacks out of the opening. But don't build him. I mean, like I said, he's trash. So those are some things that you could do. For me, I think the Raider ISO is probably one of the worst things you can put on Taskmaster. Yes, he has AoE and chain attacks, but his basic clears and copies. So Striker's better for that. Skirmisher's even better because he's assisting on all the other guys' turns and he's placing those vulnerables and getting those triple taps. So I really don't like the Raider on this. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a C+ on this. It's not terrible. You're using good tunes. I just think there's a lot of things we could do better here. Okay, team number 10. Pretty much a classic Emmarauder build. We took Sabretooth off and replaced him with Minerva. I do like this. I think it's a very standard team. We see a lot of it. It's pretty tricky because you have to, like with Shadowlands, you come in, you disrupt Strife, you ability block Emma, you have to kill Minerva. Then by that time, do you go after Emma or do you go back to kill off Strife? Depends on which T4s you have. You have to put some thought into it. It is a tricky team to go into. And it can be, it's just going to time out. It's not going to beat anybody, but it'll time out usually. I don't know. I mean, if Sinister clones the right person, you could get lucky. Otherwise, people just come in with X Factor and, you know, blow it up or something. You got big numbers, big red stars, lots of investment. You get the proper ISOs on everybody. I think you should go ahead and take Mystique to 5 for that focused boost. So you're definitely copying those effects, giving them to Sinister, spreading them to the rest of the team. Although the thing is that Mystique's not a great character, but you've just invested so much into her. It's like, you're that close, you know? You can get a little bit more. Yeah, I really like what you're doing here. I think maybe you could swap places with Emma and Minerva, but that's pretty minuscule. I don't think it's gonna matter too much. Yeah, I like what you're doing here. Can I see anything? You could bring up the power level of your Strife. You got him at 13. You might take him to 14. It's a way better gear to stop at, is 14. Like with most tunes, if you're gonna take him past 12, you should just take him to 14. Mystique isn't worth taking to 14 though. Like that's, you probably overinvested taking her to 13, and it's just not worth it taking her to 14 for what she does and how she interacts. The best thing you're gonna do is the focus boost by bringing up that green ISO to 1.5. So I guess there are some things you could do better here, but honestly, it's a pretty good build. It's standard, it's solid. I think a lot of people in the mid-range of war should definitely be doing this. It's nothing tricky, but it works. It gets the job done. It's a good filler. Probably the best thing you could do with team number 10 is swap it with Heroes for Hire. You know, hide that Heroes for Hire in the back of your roster. But I like what you're doing here. I'm gonna give you an A- for that. Okay, if you like what you saw, hit that like button, subscribe for more videos. I try to put out like 5 videos every week at least. And you can come to my Discord if you're looking for an alliance now. If you like what they're doing, you know, come in and at them in that channel and see if they, you know, wanna connect. I don't think they're looking for a new alliance. I think they're happy, by the way, with this one, so maybe don't bother them. So thank you for joining me. Remember, don't just have a good game, be good to each other too, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.